Welcome to Cosmic Comics, Games and Collectibles, your den of geekism. We carry comics old and new, magazines, toys, games like Pokemon, Magic, D&D. Want Godzilla, Ultraman, Star Trek, Ninja Turtles, Funko Pops? You'll find it all here. Shop our Cosmic Sound Room and pick up a record or two. Enjoy our Comic Coffee Lounge with a cup of Sasquatch coffee while geeking out over a super cool movie on our big screen. Cosmic Comic, Games and Collectibles. Superman loves us, and so will you.
Hi everyone, Jason Hunt here, inviting you to join us every Saturday morning for news, the week's headlines in science fiction, fantasy, horror, comic books, video games, plus Comic-Con updates and the weather, and the occasional interview along the way. We call it Good Morning Multiverse. We hope you join us every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 Central, right here on Sci-Fi for Me TV.
In a world ravaged by monsters, a new evil has risen, poisoning the land and threatening humanity. Now, the monster MATADOR, along with the meanest and baddest kaiju killers, have joined forces to kick ass. Monster MATADOR.
Welcome to the Monster MATADOR Volume 1 Kickstarter. If you've already backed Monster MATADOR, you know the drill. If you're new to the book, thanks for checking us out. Monster MATADOR is a post-apocalyptic kaiju throwdown about a matador who fights monsters to make a better world for his daughter. I'm Stephen Prince, the creator and writer of Monster Matador. The book is drawn by Ringo Award-nominated Fabio Alves and colored by Alex Zieff. Volume 1 is a 180-plus page trade paperback that collects the hit miniseries Tangled and Matadors, our explosive graphic novella Afropocalypse, plus a bonus story exclusive to this collection, and it also includes a study guide from Dr. Teresa Rojas. Now, I promise there aren't going to be any tests, but you might just learn something. Now, how about we check out the rewards? You'll be able to choose from 3 versions of the book: digital, softcover, or hardcover. There will also be a limited edition hardcover with a bookplate signed by me, Fabio Alves, and Alex Zieff, and a remark hardcover with a Fabio Alves sketch. You'll also be able to catch up on single issues and variants you may have missed. And keep an eye out for stretch goals and a few surprises. Now, the book is pretty much done. The study guide is in progress, and the book plates are making their way around the world to get signed. Other than that, we're completely finished. So we hope to get the book to you as soon as possible. Thanks again for taking the time to watch this and for checking out Monster Matador.
Your favorite podcast, it's Critical Blast.
And good evening, everybody. I am RJ Carter, Senior Managing Editor here at CriticalBlast.com, Chief Envelope Licker for Critical Blast Logistics, myopic proofreader for Critical Blast Publishing. Y'all know the drill. Tonight, we are going to head over to Kickstarter to look at some crowdfunded comics. And this one's new to me. I have not been aware of this. I've not been aware of it in its past, and apparently it has a historied one. So we're going to dig into that. It's a world full of kaiju. He's a man with a cape. Yes, it is time for the Monster Matador, and to find out exactly who and what that all means, please welcome with me to the show, Mr. Stephen Prince. We have a wonderful studio audience.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's amazing.
Stephen, how are you doing tonight, man?
I'm good. How are you? I'm good.
I'll tell you
Good day.
what. Let's
Yeah.
pop the top on this night. Now I'm officially one. Oh, that's the stuff. I'm officially one swallow better than I was 5 minutes
Nice.
ago.
I
Yeah,
would
oh.
I would join you. I've got my 4-year-old and 6-year-old watching TV downstairs, and my wife's at work, so I'm gonna have to wait
Yeah.
till a little later.
A little bit later. This is the hard stuff to find now. Bud Light Orange is like worth its weight in gold.
Oh, cool.
I had knockoff yesterday. I bought like a 6-pack of Youngling. First of all, I'd never had Youngling before.
Okay.
Second of all, it was a co-promotion that they did with Hershey, of all people. So yeah, it was
Sweet.
chocolate porter.
Wow.
I drank my one bottle. I put the rest in trick-or-treat bags. Their chocolate is out in the neighborhood. I got rid of them the responsible way to, grown adults, and found where they were selling this. And now I'm like, oh, I'm happy again. So before I get into what Monster Matador is, let's find out what warped your mind as much as it must have to be to do this. How did you get into comics, and why are you doing comics?
Well, when I was a kid, I went to religious school, and I wasn't allowed to read comics.
Oh no.
They told my parents that it would rot my mind or whatever. And but I was aware, obviously, of superheroes and things like that. So they were always this kind of forbidden fruit. And one of my grandfathers would sometimes bring comics home, would give me some, and they would mysteriously disappear,
Yes.
So they were always something that were, a fascination for me, and more so probably because they were so kind of, quote unquote forbidden, that I used to start making my own. And for some reason, my parents were okay getting me a subscription to Mad Magazine in like first grade, which is worse than,
sure.
yeah. I mean, and Mad Magazine, like, I mean, it's fantastic. But man, I mean, if you have to pick between, hey, letting your kid read, superhero comics and Mad Magazine, probably better off, because Mad Magazine was I mean, it's awesome. It twists your mind in all the right ways, especially as a kid. Um, and then, but as I got older, probably when I was 11 or 12, I think a good friend of mine in the summer had gone to the comic store for the first time and got a stack. And my parents were kind of put on the spot by his parents, or, kind of, and they're like, oh, we'll take you to the store. And that was the first time I really went and got comics. And I still remember the ones I got. It was X-Men 251. It's that Wolverine cover where he's on the cross.
Oh,
It
okay.
was
Yeah. So you're going
Spider.
to come back to your religious parents with a crucified Wolverine. Say, I got
Yeah,
comic books. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that at all.
yeah. It was that. It's like Spider-Man. I think it was the Spider-Man with the Hulk, the McFarlane one. So it was that, and I think it was the Jim Lee Punisher War Journal where he's fighting Wolverine. Um, it's so, like, imagine coming home with like that stack of comics. I mean, my mind was just blown.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where it started. And like I said, I'd always been making them because I didn't have access to them. So that was like kind of a way for me to sort of have comics without actually having comics. And my parents also, I would draw them in my notebooks at school, and I have to tell them, oh, I need more notebooks. I need more notebooks. And my report cards would come in and they weren't so good. And they'd be like, but you have so many notebooks. What are you doing all day? And then they looked at my notebooks and it's all drawings of, Ninja Turtles and superheroes and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So that's kind of where I got started. And I've always just made them. I've always just kind of made them for myself, for my friends. I did it I did a little zine in college, which had some notoriety. Um, and I worked in advertising for a while. Then I worked in the toy industry for a while. And then I just got back into making comics. And that's kind of where Monster Matador came from.
Okay. So you were making comics before. You made a zine. You worked in toys. I'm guessing probably as some sort of a designer from the other people I know who've worked in toys.
Yeah, I worked as I was in, it was a small company, so I did a lot of things. I was kind of like I did product development, marketing, and we developed the toy lines for animated series. And I also did I was kind of like the de facto creative director in a way. So I put on a lot of hats. It was a lot of fun.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
what that's telling me is that you should have some artistic chops of your own.
I do. Yeah, I do.
And yet, you're not the artist on the book.
I'm not. So I used to draw, and I actually used to draw. I actually wrote and drew 12 issues of Monster Matador. This book that we have now is kind of like a soft reboot relaunch with Fabio Alves. But what happened was life kind of happened. I had kids, and I just don't have the time. The 8 hours, to sit at a drawing board to do it correctly. When I was doing it, it was good, but like, with babies around, I was having to get through pages really quick, and I was never really happy with what I was doing. So, but I really love this concept, and it's become very, I guess, personal to me, I guess, and a passion of mine. And I really wanted to do it right, and I really wanted to get the best book out there that I could. And I'm very lucky with the art team I have. So
is Monster Matador then the first professional work that you've published? Because I know you've got a couple other titles listed.
yeah, this is the first one where we really did it. I really did it kind of like, professional. In the past, I was kind of doing it for myself and my friends, and the industry has changed so much now with Kickstarter, that you have an outlet to actually do professional level work and get it out to people.
Yes.
And that's really changed the game a lot, considerably. And I've always been kind of indie minded. And I kind of, I was originally going to look for a publisher with this, but as we were kind of coming out, COVID happened and we went into lockdown, and Diamond went out of business, and publishers didn't know if they were going to be in business. So I just kind of was like, well, let's kind of focus on Kickstarter and
Yeah,
getting
I
it
mean,
out there. And
between the two crowdfunding sites and all the various print on demand, digital printing, offset printing that's now available in lower quantities,
yeah,
anybody
it's
can make a
yeah,
comic and say, prove themselves.
yep.
And if you have the talent, it's going to, it'll be something that will sell.
Yeah, it's changed the game, and like you said, quantities. If you know anything about printing, and I know you do, but that's the biggest, and probably the most uh, important change that there's been is that you don't have to print 2,000 books at minimum. You don't have to put, you know what I mean, 3,000 books. You can actually manage a smaller print run at a decent rate that isn't going to break the bank, and it's really opened up. I guess the Pandora's box or whatever. But that's why you're seeing now such great work on crowdfunding sites. It's because we can do it, right? You
Yeah,
don't need. It's been especially the past few years. It's been a huge change. I think for the better, and
it's a renaissance.
it has
Um,
been. Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, keeping the printers running for quantity is at the heart of what
hmm
birthed the comic book industry. I mean, those
yeah,
1933 printers, it cost money to shut that big machine down and then to have to fire it up again. So they're like, well, what can we keep printing? And they, got old paper and they reprinted their comic
right.
strips and bundled them up as promos, and they were able to keep the machine going that way.
Yeah,
And now here we are.
yeah, right.
So I'm
Yeah,
going to share the campaign. We are at 97 backers. I'm going to try to remember that
okay.
because hopefully, when we reach the end of the program here, it will be a number that's higher than that. We don't want anybody get back in here and getting a refund. Just buy more
Right.
books.
And we'll
So
we'll throw in bonuses. I just mentioned that you saw it here, and if you get physical, I'll throw in bonuses, little sketch cards, and if you do digital, we'll throw in some digital bonuses too. So
very cool. Thank you. You
happy
you
to
you
do
heard
that.
him, Rick. You heard him, Rick. Bonuses are available tonight if you tell them that you saw the show on Critical Blast when you go in and back. Mike Walter's also here to stop in, like, share, and say hi, and we're saying hi
Hey,
right
Mike.
back. Glad that you shared it. That's I never ask people to like my show, which probably is why I've been at it for 6 years and I've watched everybody pass me
Never.
by.
Yeah,
But I always ask for it to be shared, and that's always for the guests, so that people that can see the people who are here tonight and
yeah,
every other night and promoting their books, so that we get it in front of eyeballs. That's the whole point.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so, so tell me a little bit about the Monster Matador, who he is, and how he came to be.
Okay, so the Monster Matador, it's the elevator pitch, whatever you want to call it, is a post-apocalyptic kaiju throwdown about a matador who fights monsters to build a better future for his daughter. The matador, how he came to be, he was his wife was pregnant and her water broke, and they took her to the hospital, and it was the night the monsters attacked, and his wife was killed after the baby was born during the monster attack, and that sort of um, gave him the kind of motivation to go and fight the monsters. And what's wild about this is that he's literally a matador fighting giant kaiju monsters, and that's kind of the fun. So he's really going against these things with his sword and cape, and part of the fun is that how do you defeat a kaiju doing that, right?
Yeah, well, I
Um,
mean, it all depends on the kaiju, I guess, because
yeah,
the shows I watched, they were like skyscrapers came up to their knees.
yeah, yeah,
That would be like, going up to its big toe and sticking a needle in it if you're a matador.
yeah.
Are these kaiju of that scale, or do you have more like, woolly mammoth sized kaiju?
So it's kind of like it's all we do different ones in each story. Um, so the first one is kind of like a Mothra like kaiju, and
Pretty
kind of the
big.
twist is that she has like thousands of children that fight with her.
Oh,
But one of the cool things about a matador is that the whole thing is about sort of like hitting. is aiming and hitting that sweet spot. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like his strategy. It's finding the way to get into that spot, to take the kaiju down.
Kind of like
Um,
Bilbo Baggins with his little
yeah,
dagger. Oh, look, that
yeah,
scale
yeah,
smithing right in there.
yeah.
Okay, so I was going to ask why you picked Matador, but that makes perfect sense.
I so my grandfather on my mom's side, I guess that side of the family going way back has like Spanish in them. And when I was a kid, they gave me like a little Matador hat cap. So it's always been something on my mind. Um, but one day I was kind of sitting around just trying to come up with something, and the name just popped into my head. And when you think about matadors, you think about kind of movement and in the arena. And I thought it was, and obviously they have a costume, so they're kind of like superheroes in a sense, and
They
there's
are.
that athleticism too. So it translates really well into the format, because of the fluidity of their movement and the athleticism and things like that. So it's not so much of a stretch. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Uh,
they do kind of look like superheroes. I mean, Spain has their matadors, Mexico has their luchadors,
yeah,
and there's a cult of personality around all the best ones that
yeah,
people just really worship them.
yeah, absolutely. And in the next one, we're actually going to introduce luchadors to fight with the monster matador. So, and
Oh,
hopefully
so
that'll be out next year. So that'll be fun. Yeah.
we got to come up with some more alliteration for the luchadors. So we have
Yeah.
monster
Right.
matador, and I can't think of a synonym for monster that begins with L, but give us some time, we'll come up with it.
Yeah. Well, maybe by the end of the show.
Yeah, but I like the costume because
Mm-hmm.
they really haven't changed over centuries.
No. Yeah.
Uh, and when he's there, and there's all these other guys here who are like paramilitary or
Right.
government ops and their guns, like he really stands out in the middle. It's like one of these things is not like the other. You got the big guns and guy with a sword. Uh,
Yeah. That's a really good point. That's one of the things I love about it too, is that you always know who he is. And he really stands out. It's part of the charm. It's part of like the kind of quirkiness of the concept. Um, and that he really does kind of travel this world in the Matador getup, fighting monsters.
so so the book tonight is it's a collection of the floppies that have gone before.
Yeah, so this is a 184-page collection. It collects our first miniseries, Tango of the Matadors, which basically introduces the Matador. It takes place in Guatemala, where he joins a group of fighters who have been fighting this kaiju. And another Matador sort of arrives, and there's twists and turns and lots of kaiju fighting action in that one.
All right.
And
Where
yeah,
are they fighting, by the way? Is it in Spain or is it in Mexico?
so
I
he's
think there's both.
actually from Mexico. He's a matador from Mexico, and in the first series, they're fighting in Guatemala. So part of the fun of and the second story, they're fighting in South Africa.
So he's
So
going to be
part of
globe
the fun,
spanning fights.
yeah. So part of the fun of the book is we're gonna like open up the world to sort of like see this bigger story that starts to unfold. But part of the fun is traveling to other countries too and seeing what kind of kaiju are there.
Yeah, because we're kind of programmed to think that kaiju is a uniquely Japanese thing, unless we
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, but if we think about it, kaiju just means giant monster or giant animal,
Right.
and we've had legends of giant animals all around the country.
Yeah.
From the Loch Ness monster to
Mhm.
Paul Bunyan's big blue ox
Right.
that was a giant cow. So yeah, it's definitely open to all around the world. I'm gonna pause here for a second because I'm missing something here,
Okay.
something that I really don't understand, and that is that this is a 184-page trade paperback that's funding for $30. $30 is what I see 48-page comics go for.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's $30 for the trade and then 50 for the hardcover. So it's, it's priced to move.
Yeah, it definitely is. I
Yeah,
mean, that's a
yeah,
lot of comic art, a lot of story.
yeah,
Um, so it definitely needs to be. Have you been on a lot of shows promoting this? I mean,
yeah. It's just a weird time on Kickstarter.
okay, because I know your wife reached out to me initially
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
introduced us,
Oh yeah.
and I was just
I had
more
no
than happy
idea
to get
she
you on
was
the show.
Yeah, thank you. I had no idea
Well,
she
yeah,
was
well,
doing
she
it.
looked at the Kickstarter and said this needs some more push, and
Yeah.
apparently found
I
us.
Well,
Um,
part of the challenge I think is that the cost of regular issues have moved up to 20, 25, $30.
yeah.
So it's kind of, putting I think a little pressure. People are not able to back as much as they used to be able to. So
Well, that's true, and being more selective, they would, I would hope, uh, look for a way to get more bang for the same dollar. And $30 for 100. Let's do the math, people. Hello, Microsoft. There's the calculator button because
and
I
it's
use it so
beautiful, and
well.
it's a beautiful looking book too. Um, you know,
This is
Fabio.
$30 divided by 184. You are paying 16 cents a page, people. Come on, that's that's crazy. Um,
Yeah,
this should have been funded first week.
that's what I thought.
Yeah. I,
Yeah,
what is it? Is it people Christmas shopping early or something? Hey, buy your kids a Monster Matador trade paperback
yeah.
comic book. Put that
Please,
under the tree. Um,
please.
Now, of course, you can't because you're shipping in June. So,
No, we're actually. I mean, we're not. I put June just because I didn't want to overpromise, but we'd probably be shipping in February is what we're looking at right now.
well, that's great. You gave yourself plenty of
Yeah,
wiggle room there in case the printer says printers will screw up. It's been
yeah.
known to
There have
happen.
been, as you know, a lot of paper shortages and things like that, but it seems to be easing up.
Yeah,
I just didn't want to kind of say we're shipping in February and then have to be like, oh, we're delayed for a few
I, I
months, but
I know.
we
I only
definitely,
got
yeah.
delayed a couple of weeks, but we did our crowdfunder a couple months ago for the
Oh,
Devil You
nice.
Know Better anthology hardcover,
That's nice.
and it was like I'm going to have autographs inside from Mike Barron and Hart Fisher,
Oh, cool.
300 pages, and the printer was on time. They delivered me a box of books, no dust jackets on them. So I was like, what the hell, guys? I can't do this. This is not what we promised. Um, they got them to me, and I folded them on myself. But it
Oh
was
my God.
a heart-stopping moment, and I learned how to
Wow.
put dust jackets on books. Which I told him, said, send me extra because I don't do this for a living. I will
Right.
screw it
Yeah.
up,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I didn't. But the way they shipped the dust jackets, I had just enough pristine dust jackets to cover all the funded books
Wow.
before I got into the ones where the covers were all dinged up.
Oh, and they're
The corner,
flat too, right?
yes, they were
Oh
no
wow.
perfectly flat, mailed flat. So I had to line the book up,
Oh
bring
wow.
it up, fold it
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
Don't crease it. Give it a curl crease, not a
Yeah.
flat
Yeah.
crease.
Yeah.
Mm, the stuff
Well,
I
that's a
learned.
lot of work.
It was a lot of work. I'm I'm
Yeah.
I'm, I'm hoping that your printer sends your hard. Is your hardcover version going to be a dust jacket, or is it going to be laminated onto the book?
I think we're gonna do a laminated onto the book.
Can't go wrong that way.
Yeah. If we were gonna do a dust jacket, it would be a stretch goal. So
Yeah. Well, this was a very limited print run of
yeah.
this. I mean, we didn't even go in demand. I was like, campaign's over. We're done. We we
Oh wow.
um we funded 10 of them. I
Mhm.
printed 25, and they're hand numbered. So it's like one of
Oh, this
25,
is
two of
really.
25.
Oh, it's a really limited.
Yeah, very limited edition. We got everything out, I think, on time. If we weren't on time, we were into the next month before they got them.
Okay.
But um, yeah, because late books is not something you want to hear about your own campaign.
No.
It's,
No. 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 We've always had our books finished before we ran the Kickstarters. So everything has always been drawn. There's a bonus and a story in this one that's exclusive to the collection. It's done, it's drawn, it's lettered, it's ready to go. So
I saw some of these names, and I was like, um, For a second, I thought this was a character, but this is actually one of your contributors, Dr. Teresa Rojas.
Oh yeah, yeah. So
from
she's
Modesto
doing.
Junior College.
Yeah, she did a. She offered to do a study guide for it, which is interesting. It's going to basically be kind of like a history, kind of like of matadors and how they tie in culturally, and then she'll pose some questions about the book and talk about themes and things like that. But what's nice about it is it kind of allows her as a teacher to order it like for her classrooms,
Yeah. Oh yeah. There you
having
go.
a study guide in it. So it's kind of like this kind of stealth way to, you know,
There's a new market. Yeah, if you can get librarians to order your trade
yeah, yeah,
paperback, you are set. You don't need to
yeah,
worry about real people anymore.
yeah. So this book is educational.
I thought for a minute you were going to say she's doing a field guide on kaiju. I'm like, oh yeah, that's
That would be that. Yeah, I mean that's something. Someone suggested that too. The other another podcast I did, a survival guide, and I'm like, yeah, that's something to do down the line. That would be fun. Get a bunch of different artists to draw different kaiju and stuff like that.
it's it, it's a simple campaign, and I don't say that
Yeah.
disparagingly. In
Mhm.
that I like simple campaigns. I
Yeah.
don't like the ones where it's like, and for cover number A12, we have this person that you've never heard of before drawing something, and it comes in
Yeah.
both a virgin and a naughty version.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I tried to
you've
keep
got
it
some
simple.
great you've got some great recommendations here. You got David
Yep.
Pipos on here, and
Yeah.
Ryland Grant. And these interior pages, yeah, this is some fantastic looking stuff. These things look like I wouldn't want to be fighting these things with a sword. My arm would fall off.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Trying to, I'm out here in Northwest Arkansas. We have, every once in a while bees, and
Right.
just one is enough to where
Yeah.
I'm like, oh God. Big red wasp today was guarding the trash can. It's my trash can. I couldn't throw my trash away until he decided to go.
Man, I don't like wasps. Those
Oh,
things are
they have absolutely no purpose in the natural
no.
order of things. All they do is kill bees.
Yeah. So this is the big kaiju. You can kind of see scale, and that's her children around her that fight.
Wow. Yeah, and he's just gonna look for the weak spot and go in while everybody else is just kind of blasting at it with guns, bullets
Yeah.
bouncing off of it.
Yeah. And the other thing, what's cool about the Matador is that they show no fear, right? So you've got we've got these great sort of poses and panels like this one where, like, imagine yourself if this giant thing was coming at you and he's just standing there like, yeah, it's no thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then you just redirect it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's
The trick to fighting like that is to not be there when the hit comes.
right. Exactly. So this is art from the second book, Afropocalypse, where he's joined by a team of international kaiju killers that have been recruited to hunt down an ancient evil in the heart of South Africa that threatens to unleash a zombie plague on the world.
Oh, so we've gone from kaiju to zombie.
Yeah, so it's a kaiju that kind of infects people with a zombie virus. And this kind of I was writing this one again as COVID hit, and that kind of inspired the sort of kaiju and the story in the sense of how do you fight a virus? How do you kill a virus? How do you fight or kill something that you can't see?
There were a lot of zombies walking around then too.
Yeah, so this was kind of an interesting and fun story, a little twist on the usual kaiju thing because it's not necessarily like what you think of as a typical kaiju that they end up fighting in this one.
I don't know what exactly it was that impressed Rick,
Yeah,
but hopefully it has continued to do so, Rick.
yeah, thank you.
While you're out there looking at this.
And we had some fun. This is a movie poster cover that we did. It's drawn by Tony Donnelly. And we had some fun with this one. This is kind of a love letter to Predator. And in Predator, Shane Black, who's a screenwriter, was one of the team members. So Ryland Grant is actually one of the kaiju killers. So he guest stars in this.
Very cool.
So we had a lot of fun with that.
And you have this other bonus story here now.
And this is the bonus story. So this story acts as a bridge between Afropocalypse and the new story that we're going to do next year, which is called Once Upon Some Monsters in Mexico.
Yeah.
So
I'm digging all these titles, and
yeah. So the Matador goes back to Mexico to be reunited with his daughter, and he's basically has to travel across Mexico to fight kaiju, and there's some other twists and turns that I don't want to spoil yet because we're not we're not quite there yet. But the first two issues are drawn, so
you're gonna have a limited edition virgin cover trade paperback with a signed book plate.
So that'll be signed by me. Yeah, that one's signed by me. It's a book plate. I know people like variant covers, so we did just like a virgin cover with the art, which looks really cool, I think.
I like how the GoPro camera the GoPro camera
it's inside the monster, right?
The uvula of the monster.
Yeah.
Then you have
the hardcover. So the hardcover. So we have a special one that is signed. It's a book plate that is signed by me, Fabio Alves, the artist, and Alex Zeff, the colorist. And Fabio lives in Brazil. Alex lives in Mexico. I live here in California. So this is the first time all three of us have signed something. So the book plates right now are on their way to Mexico. I got them from Fabio last week, and there's only 50 of them total.
How long did it take you to get it to Brazil and back?
This time it only took a couple of months, but I've had a lot of issues shipping to and from Brazil, and it's the reason why we only did 50 is because I was worried they were going to get lost. Whenever I shipped stuff to Fabio, he sent sketches for the last campaign. It took about 6 months to get to me.
Yeah, we did our annual awards at the end of last year for best comics writer, artist, all that good stuff. We do the movie and the television shows and actors. And Kyle Rodricks was voted as the best comics artist of 2021.
Okay.
So we have medallions that are engraved and they're on little ribbons and they come in nice little presentation boxes. And we sent his out, and a year later, I got it back because they just kind of held it at the post office and did nothing with it. And I'm like, "You still want it?" And he's like, "Yeah, I didn't know it was there." So we sent it again, and it took about another month and a half, but it did finally end up in hot little hands.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. That's what they did. It was literally just sitting at the post office, and it took Fabio a few months he has a friend at the post office that was trying to figure out. And I think that's the only reason why he ended up getting it. But I don't know. I don't know the reason, but the shipping to Brazil has been very challenging.
Yeah. And it's not really the cost, although it is certainly more expensive, but some of these countries, their post offices get the stuff and then they're like, "What are we supposed to do with this? Give it to somebody?"
Yeah. That's true.
You got a Remark edition here. Now refresh me what Remark is, because I'm not
I don't
they
know.
draw on the cover.
Is that, I don't know. So I don't know. I've seen it called for a sketch, but it's a sketch on a book plate is basically what it is. Yeah. And that's from Fabio. So Fabio draws the book digitally. So there is no original art from him for the book. But what we've done is we try to do get some sketches from him for each campaign. So we got some sketches from him for this one on a larger book plate, a 5x7 book plate.
And is that going to be affixed to the interior of the book, or is that just going to be like a postcard that comes with the book?
That's a good question. I don't want to ruin the book by affixing it, but I think I would probably ask each person that got it individually what they would want, because I don't want people if they wanted it not affixed to it to kind of maybe ripping it off and ruining it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
We, we,
it's a
we,
tricky thing. Yeah.
we didn't give our buyers a choice. We had labels. I sent the labels out to Mike and to Hart, and they signed them.
Oh
And I just
yeah,
pulled
yeah,
them up
yeah.
and stuck them inside. There you
Yeah.
go.
Well, for the sketches, it's a harder, and the book plates are, I did them on a thicker stock than a label,
Okay.
just because they would probably, I don't know. I don't know why, but I thought it would be like nicer to have a little more weight to it. But
Yeah. Well, the stiffer the paper, the more quality it's thought to have.
yeah,
And it's
and for the
definitely going to.
sketches, yeah, for the sketches, I just wanted to make sure they were on something that had a little more weight to it. So
Absolutely. You have the variant covers of the different floppies. These are available as, are they available as tiers or as add-ons? I haven't scrolled
these
down.
are available as add-ons. So there's a foil cover, which we only did, I think, 25 of. There's a cover inspired by the Beastie Boys album, Check Your Head. The third one is a cover by artist Carlos Diarmas, who is just incredible. We didn't even color it, and we printed it on a sketch cover stock because it just so it actually feels like his actual drawing. And then that's another cover by Kyle Roberts. That was actually the first drawing that we had done for the book, and the first big drawing of the kaiju. He did an amazing job. There are other variant covers, but um, these are the ones we have in the add-ons. Those are my
Okay.
favorites.
At this point on the
Again,
page,
like
you
I
see
didn't
that.
want to. Yeah, I didn't want to overwhelm it because Kickstarter's add-on feature is kind of, it's just a list of stuff.
Yeah.
So I didn't want a list of like 50 things because I think you just kind of, I don't want to go through this,
Kickstarter's add-on feature is very, very tricky. And I
That's a
have
good
to
way of putting it. Yeah.
I have to deal with the data to process it. And what I found is if you put all your items in as SKUs,
Right.
and then you can, if you're clever and you're smart, you reuse those SKUs. You don't type it in again for another tier,
Right.
Which some people
Right.
do.
Right.
So if you have an item on a tier and then you have that same item as an add-on, what Kickstarter does with their data is they give you all the information about the backer, and then they're like, here come the add-ons, one per column, and it'll say, oh, look, physical book, one add-on for this person.
Yep.
Total books ordered, 2. So you would think, hey, 1 here and 2. What they're telling you is that of these 2, 1 was an add-on. Ignore me.
Yeah.
But if you have an add-on that's slightly different, then you do have to know to add it in with the rest of them. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, why did you do this to us? This is bad.
Yeah. It's their spreadsheets are horrible. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, if it's a normal spreadsheet, my day job is database development, and I've done it for 35
Okay.
years. So I have one here. I just shove the Kickstarter stuff in there. Mine messes it all
Okay.
around, and it spits it out. One name and address, everything they get.
Nice.
So if they order 5 times, I don't have to see 5 packages. It's all one
Yeah.
package.
Yeah.
That triple sign version, by the way, is $60, folks. If you want to get that, it's in this tier right here. And there's only going to be 30 of them. So I was just talking with Rainey Strakowski about glow-in-the-dark options, possibly on Fiendish #3 cover. You've already done it. This is cool. You've got
this is actually a screen print. So if you're familiar with like Mondo, this is a company called Nakatomi, and they do screen prints in that vein. And I love screen prints, so I really just did this for myself. But they turned out pretty cool. They're 9x12 limited. I think we only did 55 of them. So
okay. But I
they're
imagine
fun.
they're on pretty stiff paper too.
Yeah, they're really nice. They're really high quality inks, high quality paper. And I think they're $25 in the add-on store.
You have a double trouble tier here. This is, you can get the hardcover and the trade paperback and the digital. So that's actually triple trouble, but
Yep.
only 2 physical products.
Yeah.
And I didn't peek up top.
Oh, go ahead.
I think that you do have do you have a digital only tier?
Yeah, we do have digital only. And
We
it's
do
20
have a
bucks
lot of
for
people. Yeah,
yeah.
$20 for 184 pages of Matadors fighting kaiju. So for all our folks out there who I know are digital only people, that's a deal. That's a
Yeah.
hell of a deal.
Yeah.
So we are still at 97 backers, by the way. So folks, if you're watching this on the replay, from this moment, he has 9 more days to reach a goal. And that goal is, we're not even halfway there. We just crossed the midnight, metaphorical midnight. Now it's 8 days to go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we need another $4,700 and another $4,734 to be precise. So let's get in here and order some books, order some comics. It's a guy with a sword, which is cool, fighting kaiju, which is cool. So it's double cool. There's nothing to miss here.
Yeah, it's funny because the reaction people get when they read it is like, "Oh, it's actually about a matador who fights kaiju," and I'm like, "Yes, that's
Title
not
tells you.
giant." Yeah,
I love
it's not
titles that
giant
give you a
robots,
mini
though.
movie in your head of exactly what's going to happen. Like Texas
Yeah.
Chainsaw Massacre. Nothing hidden there.
Yeah, I've done conventions and people will buy like issue 1 on Saturday or whatever, and then they'll come back the next day and they'll buy the rest because they're like, this is really what, like, you know what I mean? Like, I guess they're not really sure of what to expect from it, but it's everything it says it is. So
Yeah, you always try the first. I love it when they come back on the second day of
yeah,
a convention and clean you
yeah,
out. It was Lucifer Storm who does. He's doing the Ed Gein Demon Hunter book right now.
okay,
But he talked about how he would see too many people that were very protective of their first issues or their other
Mhm.
issues. Like, no, I can't. I can't discount anything because I need to make money. I spent money on these things.
right,
He's like, I'll go to cons and I'll take the first issue of my book and I'll just be like, free comic, free comic,
yeah,
free comic. And he says, and they come back the next day and they buy the rest of them. He
yeah,
says, first year he didn't do that, and he was lucky to break even. He's like,
Mhm.
second year I did that, I made my money back on the con, on the trip, on all the food I spent, and had profit. So
yeah.
like, that was a plan. How many Western comics fans know what the term kaiju actually means? Mike, I'll tell you this: all of them. It's become a ubiquitous term now, so it's not quite as mysterious as it was in the '60s when we were watching Creature Feature and Godzilla, and all of Japan knew what kaiju was.
Yeah,
Um,
and it's funny because I used to say monster, and then people are like, "Well, are they kaiju?" And I'm like, so it because I thought the same thing. How familiar is it? But it's definitely a term that people recognize now, and
it's well known. I mean, we've had a couple of Godzilla movies now. We've had Pacific Rim. I
right.
think Pacific Rim specifically called them kaiju.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So that put it into the vernacular firmly. Now, I did see that you were working on some other titles. Where are they at? Are they out or are they in the planning stages?
So those were older titles. They're not available as of right now. Um, one of them was called Unemployed Ant, which is a comic strip about an unemployed ant that I did after I got laid off. So, and then another one was a science fiction graphic novel. I do have some other books that are scripted that we'll probably get them ready for next year or so. I've just been trying to focus on Monster Matador. I think sometimes you're working on so many different things that you lose focus on
Yeah.
them. So I kind of I wanted to kind of focus on getting this up and running and then kind of moving on to some of the other projects I had.
So let's talk business wise here. Because we're looking at hard numbers here and running the odds.
Yeah.
It's a pessimistic outlook.
Yeah,
of
it's not
reaching the
looking
goal.
good. Yeah.
So what happens if that comes to pass?
Uh,
Relaunch, retool, and relaunch.
Yeah, we'll probably try again in January. See what we can do about lowering the goal. Um, I might have an angle on a printer where I might not to read need to raise as much. So we'll see.
Okay. Yeah, if
Um,
you can bring printing costs down, that helps.
yeah.
If shipping's an option, uh, talk to us. That's my pitch. I'm done.
Okay.
I'm not a big hard salesperson.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, anything you can do to bring the cost down is, and I'm saying that like, wow, you're really overpriced. It's 30 freaking
I know
35
that,
freaking
that
bucks
I
per.
know that's the thing. It's challenging because the trade is it's $30 for 180 pages, and
I mean, what are
a
you going
lot
to
of
bring it down to? 27? It's
yeah, a lot of people do $30 for 64 pages. So it's
and more.
it's challenging. It's tricky. So and this is always a busy time of year at Kickstarter. So um, that probably has something to do with it. So maybe launching at a quieter time, but um, it's all it's all timing. So
Yeah.
uh,
Um, do you think that Monster? Well, you've had the other ones on Kickstarter. You did the other ones that way, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And they all obviously funded
yeah.
successfully.
Everything funded. Yeah.
I was going to ask, do you think Monster Matador might be more suited to the competitor, to Indiegogo?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Um,
Worth a shot.
yeah, yeah.
Figure-
I had done a post campaign after the first issue, but I need to figure out how to actually promote towards there if I did that. I feel like everyone I know is kind of in that Kickstarter space, so
Sure. But
yeah,
that's if you're promoting with Kickstarter and you're using that mailing list to talk to Kickstarter
right,
backers. That's a limited audience.
mhm,
Promoting that's more like getting on my show, getting on
right,
Comic Related Madness show, getting on the Global Frequency show.
yeah.
And if you don't know who I'm talking about when I say these names,
Oh, I do. I know. Pops. Pops is great. Over at Comics
yeah,
Madness.
and we frequently simulcast there. Just as this is just a night that we don't. So,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
but Keely Chow, how are you doing, man? What's going on is we are trying to get at least one more backer on
Yeah.
Monster Matador here. It's exactly what it sounds like. He's a Matador. They're kaiju. The odds aren't in his favor, and similarly, the odds aren't in the favor of us getting funded here in the next 8 days. But every little ant tugging on that rubber tree will help.
Yeah.
Fight the odds. And if it doesn't fund and you do retool and relaunch in January, hit us up again.
I appreciate it.
We
I
would,
will. Yeah.
we would love to be here for a launch of something like this.
Yeah, yeah.
So is there anything about this campaign or the future of your character that we haven't talked about before we wrap things up here?
I think we went through everything. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
Do you you go to conventions? Do you have a Matador costume to wear at your table? Because
Man, you're like the hunt. Everybody keeps asking me that. I should at this point because everyone's like,
cosplay's a thing, dude.
I know. I should. I got to grow my mustache out.
Oh, you get one of those. Don Chin has a
Yeah,
bunch
yeah.
of mustaches that you just paste on. Hey, Don Chin's another show you should get on.
Okay.
But yeah, think of all the kaiju that get cosplayed at conventions, and you could be
Yeah.
slaying every single one of them in front of your booth.
That's true. Maybe I can hire someone to do it.
That works just as well too.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, David Peterson is an author of the Angst series. Wonderful stuff.
Okay.
And he had a very close friend of his. She just happened to be hot and kind of a model. And she wore the medieval chainmail bikini sword and cape thing at his table all the time. You know what? He sold books out the wazoo because people came over. So
Yeah.
thanks for teaching me that lesson, David. All right.
So
Well,
a matador woman in chainmail.
oh, there you go.
There you go.
It's sex sells.
That's right.
You just need to get a sexier model out there, and yeah, that would work. You have to retool the whole book now.
So
All right.
if
Well,
it sells, what are
Stephen,
you gonna do?
yeah, if it sells, if it makes money, if the wife gets mad, why is she wearing that? And just show her the cash and like this spends. Doesn't
It
matter.
puts food on the table.
Yes, that doesn't matter what the people were thinking when they handed it to us.
Yeah.
It spends our way when we spend it.
Yeah.
So, Stephen, thank you so much for coming on tonight and talking with us about Monster Matador. I really do have best hopes for this project.
Thank you.
It's priced right. It's over delivering. It's not priced right. It's priced exceedingly crazy low. But there's, I'm not going to be the person to say maybe in January, but if in January, come back. Well, we want to launch it here and get it out there in front of our audiences. For a launch, people come out. I don't know where most of the people are tonight. We're competing with something, I guess, something I don't know about happening. But replays are a thing too, so we get a lot of replay action. Everybody in the chat, those of you who are there still, thank you for coming out. We don't have a show without you either. We're just a podcast falling in the woods, and making no noise at all. Be sure to jump off from here to go over to the mic stand where he is going to go over the niche news of the night in everything from comics to anime to professional wrestling. And then, of course, this Friday, he'll be doing the historical comic book retrospective, going back to the Golden Age and reading the comics out loud online with guests, doing voices, having all kinds of fun. And until then, everybody, we just hope you had a blast. Good night.